Okie dokie. So go ahead and fill me in on the past couple of weeks.
He's been good for the most part. Yeah.
For us, it was like perfect at 55, 55, perfect. Other than a dog, if you walk by the dog, it's not a problem. If the dog is like the other dog is, in the lower, pounce position, then he gets all excited, and then we got to crank it up. So I think 75 is probably where you have to go to keep them completely.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure 75 is the one.
The first couple days after he left here last week, and I walked him Tuesday, Wednesday, never had to use him. Never.
But did you encounter any?
Couple times, but nothing really serious. He just walked by other dogs.
Okay. We were at what, 85?
We're up to 100. We're up to 100.
Okay.
And I brought it down to 60, 65.
Okay. So what starts to happen is, we'll see how he does today, is we start at 100, right?
Yeah.
And typically the number goes down.
Yeah.
But then it's a middle between, it's low enough that we don't get yipping and yipping, but high enough that he's not, it's not a constant, like, trying to manage him every time there's a dog. It should be fairly, transition very easily. So you're walking with him, he's in a perfect heel. There's an excited dog, you walk past him, nothing. That's what it should feel.
Yeah.
So if you start to feel like this kind of up and down on the collar, it's because we're too low.
Okay.
Okay. So then, if I know at 55, I have to bump to 75, then I might just operate around 65, 70, and then see, will that get me to be able to walk past dogs without having to adjust it? So you're setting the urgency prior to the situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We tend to hope the dog does good, and then when they don't, then we got to compensate, and I'll go a bit higher.
Yeah.
But ideally, we should just walk past dogs, excited or not, and he's just like, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say you do that, but you're still having to bump up the collar. We're still too low. Okay. And you might end up back at that 100 again, and then so when you said, for the first 2 to 3 days, you didn't touch the collar, right? Because 100 was fresh in the brain. But now that we've adjusted it, he's learned, we're no longer at 100. We're at 60 now, and I can blow off 60. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning, as you're trying to figure it out, you'll just kind of get this kind of, up and down. But I would say probably starting out at 65, 70 is probably better.
Okay.
And then see what does that get you.
Yeah.
But ideally, you really shouldn't have to touch the collar.
Okay.
It would be like once in a few months, it's like, this happened. We're completely caught off guard, right? The camel, But it's kind of all set in stone beforehand. Okay? But that's super common.
Okay.
Anything else?
The only question I have is, sometimes he'll peer poop immediately, other times it takes a block or two. The question then becomes, when's he in training mode and when can he wander to find a place to go to the back?
When you say break. So break means he's off the block. And today we're going to use the word heel. We're going to review, but it looked good. So that's going to make things a bit more clear for you. Because then when you'll have your verbal on switch, but then you'll have the verbal off switch.
Okay.
So what turns everything on, at least this past week, was the tap. As soon as he felt the tap, then he goes, okay, we're doing something.
Yeah.
So there was no word for the dog the first week. Okay. But then as a human, everybody's always like, how do I know? How does the dog know? I'm like, because of the tap.
Yeah.
The dog doesn't need the word because the dog doesn't know what the word means.
Right.
So today, with the verbal word of heel, it's going to make it very black and white. Like, okay, heel means he's at my hip, and then break means he's off the clock. Okay? But the tap is like the non-verbal heel.
Okay.
Okay? Other questions?
But if he starts the morning walk, so it's always assumed he's on training, right?
So,
or on the collar.
Right. So my general rule of thumb is 80% work, 20% play. Now let's say it's a morning walk and it's just we're just gonna take him to pee and poop, and you want to take him on the prong. That's fine.
Okay.
But if you can't make the command happen, or if you can't get compliance, I don't use the word. Okay.
The word break?
Heel.
Oh, okay.
Break doesn't matter because break only happens when he's in command. But if I go outside with the walk for him and I know on the prong collar he'll blow past it, and you say heel and you try to get him to do stuff, and he's like, wait a minute, you can't make me. He's going to start learning that heel is kind of an option. So when he's got the collar on, the e-collar, we can always reinforce the heel because we can go to 100 if needed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if it's a quick potty break, you don't have to even worry about using the word heel because that's the intention, right? I'm just gonna walk them outside real quick, let them pee and poop, and we're gonna go back inside. That's fine. But if it's like a 30-minute walk or an hour-long walk or anything substantial, 80% work to 20% play is the general rule of thumb. Okay? Other questions? All right, let's do a quick review. I'm gonna have you show me what you've been practicing and we'll take it from there. And has he been like fairly consistent with everybody in terms of walking? Good.
There are certain city blocks where he can just fight the coach and play and stick around.
Oh, okay.
Once the power's on, he doesn't even advance. Right by.
Sure. He knows.
It's almost like he's gun shy to go to the bathroom because.
Oh, sure, yeah, because he's afraid of the remote, yeah. And then slow down. Very good. And stop. Yeah, in the beginning, because that first class, there was a lot of remoting, and it was also at a higher level, that he starts to be more cautious because he's trying to avoid the remote. It's a common problem, but it's a good problem because it means like he doesn't want to just do his own thing. Exactly. Okay. So all that looked good. Questions about any of that? So what we're gonna do here, super simple, is you're gonna cue the word heel first, and then you're gonna start walking with your right leg first. Okay. So going forward now, if you walk with Hudson and you don't, and he's got the collar and everything, and you don't say anything, he's not on the clock. He's technically free. Okay. You'd have to cue heel in order for all of this stuff to kick in. Okay. So so now, every time you say the word heel, you will always walk forward with your right leg first. Okay. So I think you said you had your previous dogs trained. Did they cover heel? Were they left side or right side?
It was right side.
It was right side?
Yeah.
Was it always right leg
It
forward?
was all left side.
It was left side.
Was it left side?
Yeah, and he was always right at your leg.
At your leg, right.
I don't remember if it was left foot forward then.
Okay, if he was at left side, chances are it was left foot forward, traditionally speaking. So, in terms of the body language stuff, since he's at your right side, when you cue heel and he sees that right leg moving, that becomes his visual cue of like, now we're walking. So in more advanced training, right leg means move with me, left leg would mean don't move. Okay, so like if you walk with your left leg, he should stay behind. So that's where these things become important. And it's really just consistency. And you'd be surprised because people are like, really, the dog can say nothing? I'm like, yeah, it happens all the time. And then later on, typically what happens is the owner forgets. And then they're like, hey, Jesse, the dog like sucks at stay. I'm like, show me what you're doing. And it's usually they're walking with the wrong leg. They're walking with the heeling leg, and the dog thinks heel. Because they don't know what heel means, right? They're going by association, bless you, and your body language. So if you say stay, and you move with your heeling leg, he's like, I guess we're heeling, even though you said some other word, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna cue the word heel, start moving with your right leg first. You're gonna walk for a little bit, slow down, come to a stop, heel, right leg first, walk for a bit, slow turn, come back, slow to a stop. He auto sits, heel, and we're gonna repeat that 5 times. Okay.
Heel.
Good. Good.
Heel.
Keep relaxed. There you go. Good. And one more.
Heel.
slow to a stop. Excellent. Questions on that? That's the easy part. Okay. All right. So here, heel turns everything on, everything that we covered last week, everything that we're going to cover this week. Okay, or next class. So anytime you move forward, as a rule, always that right leg. Okay. So we have two major types of turns when we're in the heel. We have the crossover turn and then the pivot turn. Okay. The pivot turn is essentially what we did that first class, right? Every time Hudson got ahead of you, you would just go the opposite way, right? You go ahead of you, you go the opposite every single time. And that's what I would call the correctional pivot turn. It's abrupt, there's no warning. Okay, so if he gets ahead of you, he's saying I'm not paying attention. So you just turn, start tapping, bring him back to your side. That's the correctional pivot turn. Okay. Then we have the communicated pivot turn. This is when Hudson is paying attention. So if you're walking with him and you just go like this randomly and he's doing well, that's technically unfair. Okay. So we have to communicate what we're doing, otherwise he will never get that turn with you. Okay. So like on the first class, we talked about slowing down and slow turn, right? To communicate with him something's changing. So if he was paying attention, he'd slow, which allowed him to turn with you. If he wasn't paying attention, he would keep going, right? So that slowing down is always a default, well not default, it's always before any stop and any turn that you do, okay? So with the communicated pivot turn, you slow down at least 3 steps, more is fine, and you extend your right leg. Step back on your left leg and then forward to your right leg to now go this way, okay? So it's right, left, right. So right now when you did your turns, you're doing rounded left turns. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Where you were kind of turning wide like this, right? So that's fine, but this is more so when you're on the like a tight sidewalk, you don't have all that space. Is when you're walking, you just step out with your right leg, back on your left leg, forward with your right leg. Now we're going this way, okay? So for him, when you slow down and you extend, you kind of, I usually delay it like half a second, and you should see Hudson start to pivot around you. And then by the time you're over here, now we're walking together again, okay? Now if you slow down and you extend your leg and he keeps going, like he's distracted, you would tap him and just turn and continue on like normal, okay? For the crossover turn, this is right turns, so you're gonna be crossing over Hudson, okay? So when you're walking with him, you're gonna slow down, you're gonna lead the turn with your left leg, in front of him, sharp length, like this, okay? Then right leg, and then cut it again with your left leg. Now we're going this way. Okay? So you're making like a half square.
Yeah.
So I usually like to use the sidewalk as a guide. So if I'm walking with Hudson and I slow down, I tie my footing, I step right in the track, right leg. And if you're on a normal sidewalk, you would fit within the space.
Okay.
And then now you're going back this way. Okay? So when you slow down, the reason for that very pronounced cut like this is if you turn like this, you're going to either kick into him or you're going to trip over him because he's right there. So when you cut like this, it gives him enough time to turn or stop him to allow you to complete the turn to go back the opposite way. When we're doing these 2 turns, there should be no promoting. Okay? All this is body language. So last week, we worked on teaching Hudson to pay attention. There's somebody on the other end of the leash, right? Now this week, because I can see he's paying attention, I'm teaching you how to communicate. So a dog's primary, their primary languages are physicality, which is what we're doing with the remote collar. That's what we did last week, and body language. Okay. So if a dog postures with another dog, and the other dog decides like I don't want any problem, they just submit to that posturing, or they escalate and they go like no, and they use physicality. That's their communication. So here you're doing the same thing, except you're using remote and body language here. So because he's paying attention, technically speaking, we shouldn't have to remote, unless you were to slow down and he wasn't. He goes, right? Then you would tap and turn because you have to correct that. Now, let's say you're planning on doing a crossover turn. Very common that people kind of get set in the turn. They're committed. So they'll slow down and the dog keeps going. What should we do here?
Pivot.
Yes, and
Tap.
yes, right? But what happens for most people is they get committed to that turn they keep going and they're like running around the dog, or they'll pull the dog back and then they'll try to cut in front of them. And it looks and it feels very awkward. Okay, and you'll know, like once you start doing the turns, you'll know when he's on and when it's off, either because he wasn't paying attention or because you forgot to slow down. Okay? So two most common things with the heel, we forget to slow down or we're not high enough on the collar. So if we're not high enough on the collar, if you slow down, just keep going and not pay attention. Or if you are high enough on the collar and you're still like gliding or he's not getting it, we're not slowing down. It's always one of those two things. Okay. So we're gonna start first with pivot turns. So for your perception, it's right, left, right. Okay. And in the beginning, I exaggerate it because you're like learning.
Sure.
But once you get it, it's normal. Okay. People always ask me, do I have to walk like this? I was like, no, just to like pick it up. Right, left, right, like that. Good.
Should I tap in?
Yeah, so go ahead and keep your arm relaxed. Just give a tap here. There he goes. Right, left, right, like that. Good. So you can see he's starting at the curve a little bit.
Yeah.
Tap here to get him, speed him up. There he goes. Good. Keep arm relaxed. Good. There you go. Good. Two more. Keep relaxed. Good. There you go. Better. One more. Tap. Good. Slow to stop. Good. So you can see the first three were kind of like awkward for him, but then once he figured out like, oh, this is what you're doing, he started turning and looking a bit more. Okay. He's lagging a bit, which is okay. Yeah. When you tap him, don't say heel, just tap to get him to speed up. Okay. So we only say heel when we go from stationary to motion.
Got it.
Okay. So like when you're stopped, heel, move. Okay.
Got it.
Otherwise everything will good.
Okay.
So now you're going to do the crossover turn, which is turning.
So do I go more in the middle of the sidewalk to turn?
Correct.
Okay.
You would hug towards the left to give yourself space to come this way.
Got it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Heel.
Good. Good crossover. So that one you led left leg. Right leg. I'm sorry, you led right leg.
Oh, got it.
So
okay.
go ahead and slow to stop. What you did was a baby left leg, and then you led more with the right leg.
Okay.
And it's a real sharp, just cut over with the left leg.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Should I do it again?
Heel.
Heel.
So, did that feel awkward?
Yeah.
Why?
Because the right leg went first. Was that why, or did he go keep walking?
We gotta go. Did it look awkward? Okay. Yes. She did. Yeah, there was that awkwardness there, but also you didn't slow down.
Oh, okay.
You just you like it was very like a very brief, and then you tried to go into it.
Okay.
So you didn't give yourself enough time, and that's why the stumble happened. Okay?
Okay.
So when you slow down, at least 3 steps, but more is perfectly fine.
Okay.
So you can plot out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can feel the awkwardness that I was
Yeah.
talking about.
Okay. Feel.
Yeah, but you're doing a baby right that I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it's
Is that
pure
okay?
it's pure left leg
Oh.
because it's gonna become a bigger habit. There you go, like that. There you go. Let's try 3 more like that. Feel awkward?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I went
Then
with the
slow
right.
down. There you go. There you go. Better. You can feel the difference. Better. Let's try 1 more. There you go. And then slow to stop. So there was a little stumble step there, right? But because you were slowing down and you took more steps, you were able to recover it so that you were able to cross over just fine. Okay? But it feels awkward when you do so. If it feels awkward, it's usually we forgot something, or you're trying to force through something. Okay, or you're trying to compensate, like pulling the dog back and all that. Like something's not lined up. Okay, so that's why if he ever gets off the leg, it's always pivot, turn, tap.
Okay.
Otherwise, you also just want to commit. So if you're turning, if you're doing a crossover, and you stutter step, he's gonna, it's like a dance. If you have a leader and a follower. And if the leader is just kind of like unsure, then the follower's like, well, what's going on? Same thing for the dog. Okay? So if I go, oh crap, I led that wrong, you just got to commit and power through. And you might need to use your body to like just plow through him in order to compensate for the misstep. Otherwise, I've seen people trip over their dog. So just be careful, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to alternate between the 2 turns randomly. Okay? So you're going to pick and choose. You do it however you want. As often as you want. As long as your communication is clear, slowing down, all that stuff, leading with the correct leg, there should be no problem. Okay? Go ahead. The pivot. Correct, and I'll explain why once he finishes a couple more. But all these look good.
He be lagging that far behind him.
He's actually fine. So it's really, we never want the dog to pass. Go ahead and slow to stop. In terms of distance behind, I usually give him like a foot, no farther than a foot to the left, or to the, in your case, to the right, and no farther than a foot behind, never ahead, okay? But all that looked good. So there, just random turns, but because you're communicating and leading correctly, he's able to see what you're doing and follow your lead, okay? So last class, again, was teaching Hudson, pay attention, but now that you know how to communicate, he's able to pick up on all that stuff, okay? Questions? Nope. So the reason why we have the 2 turns is if you're on the sidewalk, you walk with Hudson, let's say you need to go that way, but there's people here, maybe pivot turn, right? Because it's a single line. But let's say there's people behind you and you need to go the other way, then you cross pivot turn, right? And then just go like that, as opposed to stopping awkwardly and like moving around. So it's meant to be functional. Whether or not that actually happens to you is another thing. But it's just more body language and communication. Okay. When you do your regular right turns, right? So you're not doing a full U-turn. You still lead with your left leg, but you'll just keep turning over. Okay. Same thing for the left turn. You slow down and you lead with your right leg, but you just cut over like that, as opposed to doing the pivot off. Okay. So when he's paying attention, slow down, right, left, right, go. When he's not paying attention, if he keeps going, it's the pivot turn. We don't do the right, left, right, because people get confused with that. Where the dog will go ahead of them, and then they'll do the slow down to this, and they'll go, no. Dog's already gone. You just pivot off and tap to correct them to bring them back to your side. Okay. What I suggest in the beginning is, let's say on your walks later today, let them go potty, get that out the way first. 5 heel stops, 5 heel to crossover turns, 5 heel to pivot turns, and then start your walk. So you kind of do what you just did here, right? And that's the warm up, because on the actual walk, you're not going to be turning all over the place. So it's just to get this in your muscle memory. And then during the walk, the hard part is going to be, I'm going to make a right turn at the stop sign. So then you're gonna, plan your steps and slowing down and crossing over like this. So when you turn for the stop sign, it should feel fluid. Okay. And then once you get this in your muscle memory, you don't have to do the 5-5-5. So like me, I've done this for so long, I can't do it wrong. It's so ingrained in me. That even if I try to like demonstrate wrong to someone, it's like hard. My brain is so used to it. And even on normal walks, I walk with specific leg movements. So, but once you get it down, you don't even think about it. It just becomes like second nature. So, but all the stuff works together if he's paying attention. Okay, and he's going to pay attention because he's respecting the level of the collar. That's the main thing. So like, because we're logical, let's say you're going to come to a stop at a stoplight. You slow down, you stop, he keeps going. Most people just pull the dog back. You have to pivot, correct them, come back, slow down so we stop in unison. Because the person goes, oh, Jessica, I was going to stop at a stop sign. It's going to go anyways. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because now the dog is learning he doesn't have to stop with you. So then we end up untraining the dog. And dogs are constantly learning. So you can start off with everything correct, and then if you forget, all of a sudden everything's off because we're not reinforcing. Okay? Questions? So let's go ahead and, who wants to go next? We're going to start off first with the, going to shorten your leash about a foot or so. There we go. Yeah, let's bring it on the inside there. There we go. Excellent. And we're going to start first with just a few of the heel to stops, okay? Good.
Heel.
Good. Right leg. Pull to your right, tap. There he goes. Good. Couple more. Good. Good. Now here, if this happens, see how he's right in front of you? This is the exception to the heel right leg. You're gonna say heel, and you're gonna pop forward with your left leg to bump him out the way, okay? There you go, like that, good.
Okay.
Because if you lead with the right leg, it pushes them to the left.
Sure.
Good. So he says he's leaning the wrong leg, yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that
That
what
was the
he's
left
doing?
leg, yeah. He did like, I think 3 or 4 of them with the correct leg and 2 of them with the left leg. So that was the right leg, that was correct. Good.
So you always say heel when you're going,
Stationary to motion,
Okay.
correct. So here, go ahead and slow to stop when you're ready. Excellent. Most of those you led with the right leg. There was a couple you did with the left leg. Okay, just making consistent it's always that right leg. Because as we add on more things to him, it's going to make a difference. Okay. And yes, every time you go from stationary to motion, at this stage you will always cue heel and then move forward right leg. Once he's got the concept of the heel word, technically speaking, if you say heel and you walk with him, and you stop, and you say nothing, and you walk again, that heel is still in effect. You would have to say break to shut that off, right? So technically speaking, if you cue heel once, it's turned on. When you come to a stop, all you would need to do is move with your right leg, okay? But at this stage, because you're trying to tie it in his brain, like heel means we're going, we repeat it every single time, okay? Heel. So now I'm sorry, we're gonna do the pivot turns, the right, left, right, going the opposite way.
So I'm gonna do this go.
Yes, to your left.
Okay. Each time?
Sorry?
Each time?
Correct, yeah.
Heel.
So that's a rounded turn.
Oh,
You're doing a pivot turn, yep.
Better?
Almost. So slow down to a
So
stop.
you want a 180?
Correct.
Okay.
So here, step forward right leg, back on left leg, and then turn 180, like a pivot turn, like that, yep.
Heel.
Yep, there you go. Better.
Why are you guys laughing at me?
Because there's still a little bit of a, of a rounded turn there.
How do I?
I'll show you.
Heel.
All right, we'll do it together.
So what do I?
So what you're doing is, feel like you're turning like this, right? And you'd step out. So you want to step out with me? Step back like this, so you're kind of turning, and then right leg forward, like that. So you would stay within a straight line.
Heel.
Much better. And then slow down prior. There you go, better. 3 more. Good. Good, and a bit of a slow down prior. There you go, much better, and then slow to stop. Good. So those turns he was able to do now without the slow down because this is training. But if you do that on a regular walk, he's gonna keep going, okay? So now you're gonna do the crossover turn. That's gonna be left, right, left, going back the opposite way.
I'll just wait till
Yep. And then you'll hug towards the left side to give yourself space to turn.
heel.
There you go. There you go. Good. Good. There you go. Don't forget to slow down. Yep. You can see where he just kind of like bucked back a bit. Yep. There you go. Much better. Good. Tap forward. Good. There you go. Yep. Excellent. 2 more like that. Tap forward, tap. Keep forward, tap. Yep, there you go. And then complete your turn. There you go. Good. We'll do 1 more turn.
Sorry, sir.
So that one's your right leg. See that? Yep.
Come on, Lily.
Go ahead, slow to stop.
Lily.
Good. Slow to stop. Good. Now you're going to alternate between the 2 turns. The pivot turn and the crossover. Okay?
Heels.
But anyway,
Good. Crossover. Good. Couple more. And slow to stop. Very good. Slow to stop.
Never use
Very good. So we'll start first with the heel, the stops, and then we'll do each turn like all the others did, okay?
Heel.
Good. Good. Good.
Heel.
2 more. Yep. And slow to stop.
Heel.
Good. And go ahead and bring them back. Yep. And then slow to stop right there. And then hold. And then tap. Go ahead and dip down. What's your number?
Pardon me, the number is 75.
Let's go and go down to 55.
55?
Yeah. So all that looked good, but you were moving forward before he could complete the task. So then he started like standing. Did you notice that?
So what was that? Say that again?
So when you were coming to a stop, he was going into the motion of sit, but then you start
Kept
going again. So then like he never got the sit, so then he started standing.
Got it. So what do I want to let him come to a
Let him complete
sit.
the task,
Got
yeah,
it.
and then wait a moment, heel, right leg forward.
Got
Okay.
it.
Otherwise the movements are correct.
Confusing.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're gonna work on the pivot turn, right, left, right, going the opposite way to the left. Okay. That's all right. That's all right. Try one more time. So, so it's slow to a
I'm
stop.
so confused. What am I doing?
It's okay. I'll do it with you right here. So go ahead and come to a stop right there. Okay. So what you're doing is you're going like this and just kind of turning like that, right? And what you're gonna do is step out right leg, step back
Oh, that's
leg,
right.
and then forward. Yep. There you go.
Yep.
Right, left, right. You got it. Good. Okay. Right, good. Couple more. Good. Last one. And slow to stop. Very good. Now you're going to do the crossover turn. That's going to be left, right, left, going to the right. Okay?
So crossover turn. So I start on my right foot
For
walking.
the heel. Yep.
Right, so heel.
There you go. Like that. You got it. Good job. There you go. Good. 3 more. Good. 2 more. One more. You can see how he's kind of watching and delaying. Good. One more. Keep forward. Cap. Keep forward. Cap. Keep forward. Keep forward. Keep forward. Keep forward. Move forward. Tap. 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 Pull in your leash a little bit. Tap.
Why is he doing that? It said stop. Like I was tapping constantly. He wasn't.
Yeah. Then we just buff the collar, or put more leverage on the
Okay.
leash, or more pull. Okay. Forward. Good. And slow to a stop. Excellent. So then now we're going to go between the 2 turns, the pivot turn and the crossover turn. Okay? Good. Good crossover. Good. Right, good pivot. Good. Good, one more. And slow to a stop. Very good. So when you came to a stop there, for whatever reason, the reason why you want to keep moving forward is you're developing habits. I see it happen all the time. Dog stops or does something, the owner stops, right? And then it can, one time is not going to be be detrimental. But if we do it consistently, the dog starts to pick up that habit of like, oh, if I want to stop this, I just don't move, right? But then also, let's say recall is like the most important command. The trainers call it like the life or death command or whatever. Is I see it all happen all the time where the dog's on a long leash, the dog gets confused, tangled or whatever, and the owner stops or drops the leash. And I'll tell them, or I'll yell at them, don't do that, because you're not working your dog through the problem. You're also developing a bad habit. So if the dog were to be off leash, that's where we tend to panic, and then we stop, and then the dog takes off, and then we go back on, right? So here, whether he's on leash, it's like all he did was like put his paw. So I would either just keep moving forward because you stopped, and that's why he had more leverage, and that's why we couldn't do anything. If you would have just kept going, at some point he's not going to walk like this. He's going to go, crap, this is awkward, and he's going to bring that leg down. Okay? So that he learns can't do that, but then also you're not developing the habit of stopping. Another example I like to use is I was in jazz band. I wasn't good, but I was in it. And we would stop. You know, we would make a mistake and we would stop. And my professor would yell at me. He's like, don't stop. He's like, the music doesn't stop. He's like, everybody's still playing. You're stopping. Don't do that. He's like, because everybody's going to hear that. Everybody's going to see that. He's like, you might suck for a few seconds, but keep playing until you're back in the groove again. And then that's how I developed the habit of like, okay, we don't stop. Same thing applies to dog training as well. Okay. And once we start, and next class, by the way, is going to be recall training. So you will need your long leash, at least a 30-foot leash. Nothing fancy. They're like $8 to $12 on Amazon. You got one?
Got one.
So we'll see how he does. But when we're working on the recall training, if we see him, you'll get what I'm saying. You'll think about this. Like, this is exactly what Jesse was saying. Okay. So, bless you. Your homework for this week is now apply this to the heel. So you go outside, potty break first, like we have been. Heel 5 times, stop. Heel, pivot, and then heel to crossovers, and then start your walk. Remembering to slow down before stop and before any kind of turn. If it feels awkward, something's off. It shouldn't feel awkward. It should feel very fluid. Almost always too low, or we're not slowing down. 2 most common things. Questions?
You said you were going to give us a couple tips to do, like quick commands, like dropping.
Oh, sure. So we have. Do you want your dog to eat sticks?
No.
Okay. So think of it this way. That's something we don't want, period. If you say drop it, Hudson can chew on sticks until you say drop it. That's how dog brain works. For a kid, you could say, hey, don't play in the mud. Ever. The kid goes, okay, I don't play in the mud anymore. Right? Not dogs. He can technically chew on sticks until you say drop it. Okay? So if I want to eliminate the behavior of chewing on sticks, when you're stopped, let's say you're over here, and he's like, oh, that's a nice stick, and he goes for it, you don't say a thing, you just start to remote. Okay? And then you bump it if needed. So then he thinks, hey, every time I pick up a stick, this goes off. But there's no warning. Right? So then he wants to avoid the tap, so he's not going to pick up sticks, period. Okay? But I guarantee you, if you say drop, you're going to see Hudson start chewing on sticks, and then you catch him, hey, drop, and he's like, right? And then you walk a little bit later, and he's like, what about that stick? He starts chewing it, and you're like, drop. So you got to say drop every single time. And that's why I said, do you want your dog to chew sticks? No. Then it's eliminate the behavior, okay? If it's something like barking, let's say you don't want a dog to bark out the window, but you want them to bark at the door, right? Anytime they bark out the window, consequence, no warning. Dog learns, I can't bark out the window. Barking at the door, quiet, then consequence. So you can bark until I say quiet. Does that make sense? So if I don't want to say quiet, I don't say quiet, my dog keeps barking. So the person on the other side knows there's a dog here. Okay? So anytime Hudson does something, you can use the remote to stop the behavior when he's on the leash or in an enclosed area. Okay? I don't want you to remote him off leash, like here, for example, because let's say I have to go to 100 for the stick, and he goes, run away. Okay? Because he's not been conditioned yet. Okay? Once we cover recall and we're on the long leash, you'll start to have more a gray area for that. But for now, on the leash or in an enclosed area, like inside the home or inside the fence or whatever, because I'm not worried of if he does run away, where's he going to go? Okay?
Would this still work? The one thing we're having trouble with is the jumping on us. like sitting in a chair and he wants to jump on your lap and pause up, could we use the remote to
Technically
break
you
that?
can, but then you're become dependent on the collar. So if you would shoot me an email and say, hey Jesse, you're gonna send us videos on how to correct jumping on the chair, and I'm gonna send you 3 videos on what's called a bonker. It's just a rolled up towel. You can use hair bands, rubber bands, or zip ties to keep the shape. It's a firm but soft surface. The video shows how to make one, how to use one, and the trainer actively uses one. You want to watch that 3rd one for sure, because people always watch the first 2 but never watch the 3rd one for some reason. So definitely watch the 3rd one. And the bonker is simply a firm but soft surface so that you can literally bonk the dog to correct them for behaviors when he doesn't have the collar on. Okay, because if he jumped on another dog and they didn't like it, they'd bite him, right? But we can't bite our dog. That's how we handle things. So we just use the bonker. And then you can use the bonker for anything you don't want him to do within the home. Certain types of barking, whining, jumping while you're sitting down, barking for attention, chewing on the couch, counter surfing, all that stuff is just don't do that. Okay, you can use the bonker for it. Okay?
So then, if he's like on a
Yes. Yeah, because that rule is a rule, right? So even though you're on break, you still can't chew sticks.
Okay, and then with break, doesn't know what that is yet, so you just keep on saying it, and if he wants to keep doing it,
You would say break, but then lead them onto the surface to make it very obvious. And then don't walk like this. I turn to go like this.
Oh, okay.
Because if you keep walking straight, he's going to keep healing.
Okay.
So then you pivot to face him, so then you can't heal him.
Eventually figure it out.
Yeah. If it's still a problem, then I'll do a walk where I'll heel, break.
Okay.
Wait a little bit, heel, walk for like 5 seconds, break, and you're literally just heel, break, heel, break.
Okay.
If he's got like ball drive or something, you can also have one in your pocket, and when you say break, just toss the ball to create the impulsiveness of like go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's another thing.
At this point in time, it's not preventing commands like sit, stay, no.
You can do them, but I mean it's because once we put collar behind them, they're not gonna matter. But yeah.
So then if you're crossing, you want them to stop to be at a corner, and then continue to walk, you go on the chain. You pivot, and you don't say no, stay, or anything. So it's all the pivot.
Yeah, pivot, turn, tap. Because then he
Tap
thinks,
is the key to
yeah, because he's gonna want to avoid the tap. So then he's gonna think I need to pay attention when you come to a stop because then they can tap. Okay. So in the beginning, it's a pain, but like I don't ever pivot, turn, tap my dogs, because in the beginning it's very consistent. And the dog goes, all right, just always pay attention to you. But you have to communicate clearly though. If you're not slowing down, your dog's bypassing you. Yes, you're still supposed to pivot, turn, tap, but that's on the handle. Okay, so it's like if you come to a complete stop abruptly at a red light, and you don't pump your brakes and that person crashes into you, that's technically, your fault because you just came to an abrupt stop. But okay,
Yep.
awesome, good job.
All right.
He's looking good.
Great. Great.
One final thing. We still have to lift